सुखात्मबिम्बः स्वैश्वर्यकान्तिप्रततः सदोदितः स्वभक्तसन्तापदुरिष्टहन्ता रामावतारो हरिरीशचन्द्रमाः नमस्ते प्राणेश प्रणतविभवाय अवनिमगाः नमस्वामिन् रामप्रियतम हनूमन् गुरुगुण नमस्तुभ्यं भीम प्रबलतम कृष्णेष्ट भगवन् नमः श्रीमन्मध्व प्रदिश सुदृशं नो जय जय आपादमौलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथाः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। सर्वेभ्यो नमः। यद्यहम् इदानीं संस्कृतभाषया वक्तुं प्रारभे तर्हि सर्वेषां सम्यक्तया बोधो न भवति इति मन्ये। किं वक्तुम् इच्छामि इति चेत् यो ग्रन्थः यया भाषया निबद्धः तद्भाषाज्ञैरेव तस्य ग्रन्थस्य व्याख्यानं कर्तव्यं, नान्यैः। यदि अन्यैः कर्तुं प्रयत्नादिकं क्रियते तर्हि तत्र अपव्याख्यानमेव भवति इति मम अभिप्रायः। I hope most of you didn't follow what I just said. That was my whole point. Okay, so Ramayanam has been written in Sanskritam. Most of our scriptures are in Sanskritam. So now, if people who are non-experts have not spent considerable amount of studies in expertising or mastering that particular language or the ideology, if they start looking at those kinds of things and start writing scriptures on that, what ends up having are only apavyakhyanas. So somebody who has, like, let's say, put in 15 years in studying Tamil literature, they cannot comment on quantum physics. Somebody who has spent 20 years studying Sanskritam and Shastras cannot just come and start talking on physics. So same thing applies. Somebody who has spent their careers doing something else, due respect to everybody, but somebody who claims themselves to be non-expert, somebody who takes pride in saying that I have not studied anything and I'm not an expert, starts making comments on our scriptures and starts saying things like, Rama was an unsuccessful person and he was a failure in life. We have been hearing these kinds of comments, and those people claim that they are non-experts and they take pride in saying that they are non-experts. Right? I study science, I practice science as a discipline, and if somebody has to talk about something, the first thing that someone should have is a vidvat or scholarship. The guna that I have been told to talk about, which Bhagavan Sri Rama possesses, is that of scholarship or vidvat. So the irony and unfortunate thing is, people who are not vidvans are making comment on somebody who is the ultimate epitome of all vidvats. And this is causing a lot of issues in the society. Okay. So before I begin my actual speech, let me just tell you one more thing. So there is a niyama in Shastra that is called, whenever you speak, you should not do something called as dharmigrahakamana virodha. What does that mean? Suppose you are commenting on M.K. Gandhi. Okay, what is the authentic source that you get information about M.K. Gandhi? Is his own autobiography. So now you read his autobiography and get all information from that and start commenting on the very autobiography is something that you should not do. You got the very information from a book and you cannot start questioning the book from which you actually got the actual information. So this is called the dharmik grahaka mana virodha in Shastra language. So now these people, where did they actually learn that somebody like Rama existed as a character? It is from the Valmiki Ramayanam or Srimad Ramayanam. And they start saying things that are against the very source from which they actually got to know about the person. So this is called the dharmik grahaka mana virodha, and this is considered to be a very big fallacy, logical fallacy in the way people put forward their arguments. So the problem with a lot of popular speakers around, okay, who claim themselves non-experts and they take pride in saying that they are non-experts and make comments on the Ananta Kalyana Gunapurna Brahma, who is the incarnation of whose incarnation is Rama, saying things like Rama was a failure in his life, claiming that they are non-experts, are doing nothing but dharmik grahaka mana virodha. How did these people get to know the existence of Rama? It is from Valmiki Ramayana. And if one studies Valmiki Ramayana with authentic scholarship, then nobody would dare make such comments that Rama was a failure in life. Nobody can dare make such comments. So people have to study, right? People have to possess scholarship first before saying something. That is, I've been told that one of the gunas that I've been told to talk about is the vidvata, or the scholarship of Bhagavan Sri Rama. The first trait of somebody being a scholar is that you first better study, acquire vidya before you make comments. Don't commit logical fallacies that are very apparent, like dharmik grahaka mana virodha. You should never do such fallacies. So what I thought was is that I studied a bit of Ramayanam, okay, and started listing what constitutes scholarship. What constitutes scholarship? We have, as I said, I practice science, and in scientific disciplines, we define scholarship. If somebody has to be called a scholar, what constitutes scholarship? There are a few traits that one can ascribe to a scholar, and you can see all of that and more in Bhagavan Sri Rama if you properly study Ramayana. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll take about 15 minutes and just list. So apparently I was just listing the number of, the kind of scholarship traits that are found in Bhagavan Sri Rama. And in the time that I was given, I could actually list 16 of them. So that corresponds to the 16 gunas that were given. So there are 16 traits of scholarship that one should possess. See, these traits of scholarship, or the vidvata, are taken to be the yardstick of even modern day scholarship. So who is called a scholar in the modern day fraternity, scientific fraternity or otherwise? So you can count these traits and you can see all of them with Bhagavan Sri Rama if you study Valmiki Ramayana. Let us start. So the first thing that that is a trait, that is a very important trait of scholarship, is being curious and having a questioning attitude. So you cannot practice science, you cannot be a scholar if you don't question. And that is why all our shastras start with the Jignasa Sutra. Athato Dharma Jignasa, Athato Brahma Jignasa. A Jignasa is curiosity and inquiry, vichara, right? So Sri Rama demonstrated this attitude of questioning and scholarship from his very young and tender age. So if you study Ramayanam, when he is accompanied with Vishwamitra in the forest, he keeps asking questions after questions. He says, oh, what is this? Whose ashrama is this? What's happening here? What's happening there? So full of questions. So when you are around that age, you should inculcate that ideology or the attitude of questioning and curiosity, which is the first trait of scholarship that you can see in the Balakanda only. Okay. So the second thing that a scholar should have is the ability to patiently listen when elders are speaking. You should not jump onto things. You should, if you look at some of these speakers, who I'm talking about, these people don't even let the other person complete the question. They'll stop the question and give some answer which is not an answer to the question that somebody is asking. So not that. A good scholar is a good listener. So you should listen to what somebody is saying. In the entire Ramayanam, whenever Bhagavan Sri Rama speaks, it's very less. If you look at the Ramayanam, right, he speaks very less. That is another trait of scholar. You should not speak too much. Everything should be sutrapraya, right? Anyway, wherever he speaks, he lets the other person complete his argument and then speaks. Even in the situation of distress, you look at the conversation between Vali and Sri Rama, from the beginning, whenever Vishwamitra says something, no interruptions. Whenever Vali says something, no interruptions. Okay, so patient listening. You can see that whenever Sri Rama makes a conversation in the entire Ramayanam. The other thing is, once you have acquired some scholarship and you have listened enough, when you are presented with an argument, when you are indulging in a debate, you should be extremely calm. That's another trait of scholarship. And our learned scholar, Sri Bhadrayana Acharya, was mentioning in his speech that there is an interesting conversation between the sage Jabali and Rama, where Jabali tries to persuade him to go back to his kingdom and presents the theory of atheism. So there are two adhyayas where Jabali speaks, and no interruption, nothing. Rama does not get any kind of distress there. Very calm and composed, because he has a lot of faith in his scholarship. Okay, so debating with a lot of calm mind. You can see the same thing with Vali's debate. No distress anywhere. Very calmly listening to stuff and then answering it. This is another trait. 3. Fourth one is sensing, or you assess the subtlety in situations. Sukshmadarshitva, that is another trait of scholarship. I mean, I've listed a lot of things. Thanks to organizers, because of this, I could look at Ramayana, right, 2 times completely. So I was so happy that this was an opportunity. Again, I thank the organizers for that. So you can see these traits all along in the Ramayana, sensing subtlety, right? I mean, there is a nice anecdote that happens. You all know the story. They have just entered the Vanam, and Bharata comes with his army. Lakshmana is very furious. I mean, you can see the difference between Rama's character and Lakshmana's character. He's very furious. He says, I'll go and just kill him. I'll just wage a war with him, etc. So Rama says that, look at the way he's approaching. He's not coming to wage a war with us. So that is the ability to sense subtle things. Sukshmadarshitva, that is another trait of scholarship. Because of lack of time, I'm just going, rushing through things. There are too many things to say about it. This is one thing, right? You sense subtlety. You sense things that the other things cannot sense. This is another scientific attitude, right? If a scientist would see beyond what the mundane people would see. So that's sensing subtle things. The other thing is, I am a professor by profession, right? I deal with a lot of students. One other trait of scholarship these days is dealing with juniors and your peers when they are distressed. When people come with you with distress, how do you talk to him? How talk to them shows your scholarship trait, because you understand what's happening around. You look at Ramayana, right? Lot of things. Whenever, when Lakshmana goes and says that, oh, I will kill Kaikeyi and all that, look at the response that Sri Rama gives, right? And look at the conversation that he has with Sutikshna, and also when Vibhishana comes to approaches him, right? Look at the way he talks with him. So people with distress. So how do you deal with people with distress is another trait of scholarship that is exhibited by Sri Rama many times. The other interesting thing is, there is a saying in Sanskrit, Vidvaneva vijanati vidvajjana parishramam nahi vandhya vijanati guruvim prasava vedanam. So one undoubted, or rather, undisputed trait of scholarship is recognizing scholarship. If you are a scholar yourself, you will recognize the others' scholarship. So in fact, that saying that I just said actually says that only a true scholar can recognize another scholar. Right? So we cannot, as men, we cannot describe what the kind of pain that women go through in childbirth. That's exactly what that saying says. Okay. Being a man, I can never imagine, right? I imagine that, okay, maybe labor birth is something similar to the stomach pain that I get. It's nothing like that is what I'm told by my mother. I don't know because I'm a man. Similarly, only a true scholar can recognize other scholarship. So where does Rama display this? You look at the first conversation that he has with Hanuman. When Hanuman comes and talks to him, he says, Soyam Navavyākarana Veta, right? I mean, this guy knows Rigveda, knows Yajurveda, he has studied all Sangas, Itihasas, Puranas, and he knows Vyakarana. How he could recognize this scholarship with Hanuman? Why? Because he himself is a scholar. Vidvaneva vijanati vidvajjana parishramam. So he himself, being a scholar, immediately recognizes the scholarship that is there in others. So this is another trait. Okay. The other thing is how do you treat your peers and others? The other trait of scholarship is you should be humble, right? You should not be saying that I'm the only scholar in the world and nobody else is a vidwan. Right? Yada kinchit gyoham gachaiva madandokya bhavam, Bhartrahari says. Yada buddhajana sakashat kinchit avagatam jvaraiva madome vyapagataha. Right? When I was vedaham kinchit gyoham, when I knew very little, I was too arrogant like an elephant. So when I started seeing people who are more learned than me, then I realized, how small my scholarship is. So the thing is, how do you treat your peers, right? No scientific scholar would treat his or her peer with contempt. So look at Rama again, right? Whenever he speaks with his elders, right? I mean, his gurus like Vishwamitra and Vasishta, look at the humility that he speaks with. This is okay, everybody knows it. The interesting observation that I made, which I didn't know before, again, because of this particular event, is that when Ravana is killed, Vibhishana starts crying. This is the very guy who abandoned Ravana and came to Rama and said, took refuge and all that. But you have this, blood is always thicker than water, right? So Ravana died, this guy starts crying, saying that, oh, Ravana, you are dead, my brother, okay, how can I live here, etc. You know who consoles him? It is Rama who consoles him. And you know how he consoles him? So that's why I'm telling, I'm pretty convinced now. I'm convinced of this fact that everybody in this country should study Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam in its originality. It should be made, textbook material, not translations. I'm talking about the original Srimad Ramayanam. It sets ideals like any other thing in this world. I mean, if everybody's mind gets these ideals that are set in Ramayanam, right? We will actually, now I actually understand what is it meant by the Ramarajya, the kind of ideals that is set. Incredible ideals, okay? Anyway, so it's the Rama who starts consoling Vibhishana. You know how he consoles? He says that, who do you think Ravana is? He was such a big warrior, right? I mean, he had this trait, that trait. Now look at how Rama treats his enemy. This is scholarship. Treating your peers, right? Not even equal, right? I mean, not even equal. Treating somebody who is your enemy. How does he treat? That's scholarship. Okay, that's another trait. Now, the other thing that people say is the trait of scholarship is achieving significant results. Okay. Now, again, I feel like coming back to this time and again, because anybody who has actually studied Valmiki Ramayana in its original can never get this feeling that Rama was a failure. Now, tell me, how many attempts did he made, okay, and failed in that? What's his hit rate? Right? So now you set to do something, right? And you complete the goal. That is your hit rate. When we call it hit rate, right? You try out 10 things, you get succeeded in 9 things and fail in 1. So that is 90% hit rate. Look at the hit rate of Sri Rama. Where has he failed? He makes a sankalpa that, that's why we call Bhagavan Satya Sankalpa, right? He makes a sankalpa that, I'll kill the demons, he'll kill the demons. In fact, you should see, Ravana sends his spies, right, to Rama just to assess the strength of Sri Rama's army. And Sri Rama says that also in that prasanga, in that situation, and also when he's consoling Vibhishana, he says that Vibhishana shows some distress. He says that, now I've come to you. What if, Ravana wins in this war? I'm neither here nor there and all that. Rama says that, don't worry. I'm capable enough, right, to kill Ravana and his entire family and his army. Don't worry. Right? So that's, we call SWOT analysis, right? And you know what your strengths are. Sri Rama knows perfectly what his strengths are. Of course, I actually wanted to start this talk by saying this. Talking about the Vidvata of Rama, who is incarnation of the Parabrahma, who is the epitome of Sarvagnya. Think about it. This is my personal thought. Think about it. According to all Vedanta philosophies, numerically jivas are ananta, except for few, at least in all the Astika darshanas. Numerically jivas are ananta, meaning there are you can they're uncountably infinite sets, putting it in mathematical language. Okay, now every jiva has infinite karma, anadi and ananta karma, right? Now this Brahma, or the Ishvara Padartha that we talk of, has to have a dictionary or the account of every single small to big karma of every single small to jiva in all times. We don't remember our own life. Now think about the Sarvagnya of Ishvara. This is one of the 1,000, the infinite things that one can think of the Sarvagnya. Now we are talking of scholarship of that Brahma Padartha whose incarnation is Rama. It's as somebody was saying, Udupe Nasmi Sagaram. It's actually like you live in a port, you know that, right? Beach is infinite, the ocean is infinite. If I just go there and take a bath and say that I took a bath in ocean, it's that ridiculous, but that's what it is. Anyway, so point is, Rama knows his strength, so he completely says that, don't worry, I will ensure that Ravana and his family is completely wiped off before I leave Lanka. So that I was talking, the ability to prarabdhanta gamitva, right? You start something and you ensure that you are successful in what the endeavors that you are taken. So now Rama never returned back from Lanka empty-handed, right? That's failure. You make a sankalpa that I'll go and kill Ravana, you go there, kill the entire damn army and come back. That is 100% success. That's not failure. How can you call Rama a failure? So this is everywhere, right? You look at the Maricha Prasanga, the Tataka Prasanga, Viradha, everything. Whenever he does some sankalpa, he completes it. So his hit rate is 100%. Now, why do you call him a failure? That is another trait of scholarship. The other thing is firm commitment to a cause. Good scholars will actually firmly commit to their cause. So now everybody spoke about it from the morning. Why did Sri Rama decided to stay in forest? Is because he had other things to do, right? I mean, there were lots of demons. In fact, that's the same conversation that he makes with the sage Jabali, where he says that, I mean, he says, forget about, all moksha and all this, right? You think about truthfulness, that's all. I mean, nothing more than truthfulness. So we have heard the saying in English also, honesty is the best policy. He actually says that, Rama actually says that honesty is the best policy, and that is the only way you can run this world, which is true. We see so much of distress in this universe or this world, current world, because people are dishonest, right? So now, firm commitment to a cause. I said in that very conversation, Sri Rama says that I've come here to uphold the truth, and come what may, I will ensure that I'll do it. You see the same thing reappearing time and again in the entire Ramayana. So he makes a commitment, he stick to it, right? So these and many, as I said, right, there are, you can write infinite list of traits of scholarship, and you can pick them in Ramayana and show that. See, that is why we say no Ramadivat vartitavyam natu Ravanadivat. So if you want to idealize something, look at this man. That's why the name Maryada Purushottama, right? I mean, as I said, I'm pretty convinced now. It is. See, what I think, the mistake that we do is we say that Rama is our idol, and we say that we want Rama Rajya, etc. But honestly, hand to heart, how many of us have actually studied Valmiki Ramayanam from the beginning to end in its original? This is the problem. I will be the first one to do it. See, this I think, as Rama Bhaktas, we should do a sankalpa that we will study Ramayanam from the beginning to end. Every shloka. Okay, and trust me, I have been a student of Sanskritam for a while now. It's not at all difficult. Valmiki Ramayanam is one of the easiest of kavyas. It's not the Bhabhuti Sutaramacharita or the Naishatha Kavya. It's pretty simple. So now, before we even think of Bhagavan Rama and talk of Ramarajya and whatever, we have to study Ramayanam from Tapaswadhyaya Niratam to the end shloka, including the Uttarakhanda, whatever the controversies are. Then we get an adhikara to even say Jai Shri Ram, in my opinion. See, you look at it, right? I mean, the other people who claim themselves as religious people, the first thing that they'll do is they'll put their religious book in every child's hand. How many of, I've been telling all of us are interested in Bhagavan Rama and all that, right? Have we studied Ramayana from the beginning to end, including myself? And we have to be given this sort of an opportunity, right? Anyway, so Vidvatta, right? Let us all be Vidwans in Ramayanam according to our own capabilities, right? We can be a minor Vidwan or a major Vidwan. See, it's as I said, now I say I'm pretty convinced that it's a non-negotiable thing. It's men, women, that caste, this just doesn't matter. It sets such beautiful ideals that everybody, not only in this country, everybody in this world have to read that book. It is so nice. It has multiple things, right? I mean, like the ideals and the kavya rasas that are there. Those are all secondary things. But the very ideas that are present in Ramayanam are none to other. There isn't a book like Ramayanam in this world. Of course, Mahabharata might compete, but that's a different story. But as Indians and claiming to be Rama Bhaktas, it is my humble request to all of you, your children, your acquaintance, whoever it is. Today, technology has advanced to such a level that you can just type Valmiki Ramayanam in Google, and you will get websites where each shloka has been chanted. Each shloka has like pada meaning. Right? Each shloka has translation, even though I don't recommend translations. Right? Each shloka has translation. Everything is available except for our ichha. We don't have ichha. We talk of Sri Ram, we celebrate that, this, we do everything except for studying Ramayanam from beginning to end. So let us all make sankalpa, right, of studying Ramayanam in an amulagra fashion and making our children and our generation and our acquaintance to study Ramayanam before saying Jai Shri Ram. Okay. With that humble, please don't take me otherwise, because I say that this has been something that I've been thinking, contemplating for a long time now. That, and also it's actually Bhagavad Gita that the organizers chose this guna of vidvata. I mean, trust me, I didn't ask them to give me that. You can check with them. So this was something that I was given, and I think scholarship starts from studying, no? Right? So let us all study Ramayanam and celebrate the Kalyana Gunas of Sri Rama. So with that note, let me complete. Sri Rama Arpanamastu. I forgot, I thanked the organizers multiple times during my speech, but formally thank you, Rangarajan and Vivek ji, for inviting me. This was an opportunity for me to do a Parayanam of Ramayana. Thank you.